Once again, Christian greetings to all our valued listeners and viewers throughout the whole world. This is our special episode number 44 as the last final warning message just prior to the close of provision. Now I would like to read answerer number 2 on page 17. It says, in this cumulative light, one sees never so clearly that though the Lord is to allow persecution to come anew upon His people in Babylon, He will do so only to serve His own end, to cause them to get out of their dominion. As He caused His ancient people to get out of Egypt and to go into the kingdom church. So, I would like to focus that reading, that God caused His ancient people to get out of Egypt and to go into the kingdom church. Now, brothers and sisters, we know that the kingdom church mentioned there is the church in the wilderness. So, since we are studying type and antitype, let us distinctly separate the church when they enter the promised land and the church in the wilderness. So, that predicted event by which God will get out His people and to go into the kingdom church, it must be pointing to the gathering of God's people into one truth. The comparison is found in the apostolic church, as they are also represented as the type of the 144,000 living saints. Now, here on 2TG number 46, so let us read 2TG number 46, saying to get the full beam of light. I think that is page 28. To get into the full beam of light, we must first face the fact that the pre-Pentecostal harvest took place in a self-deceived church, the Jewish, and through miracle working power manifested by Christ Himself, it yielded the 120 disciples, the first fruits of those who are to be resurrected. Whereas the post-Pentecostal harvest took place among the nations, and through miracle power manifested by the 120 Spirit-filled disciples, it yielded an innumerable multitude of converts to Christianity. Acts 2 verse 41-47. The second fruits of those who are to be resurrected. So to summarize, the times before the Pentecost, the first fruits were numbered. They came exclusively from the church itself. Third, the miracles then wrought were by Christ Himself. Now to the times after the Pentecost, the second fruits were not numbered. They came from the nations. The miracles then wrought were by the numbered ones, the 120, the first fruits. So it says, accordingly, the antitypical pre-Pentecostal harvest takes place in a self-deceived church, the Laodicean, the house of God, and through miracle working power manifested by heaven itself, through the angels, Matthew 13:39, it yields the 144,000, the first fruits of those who are never to die. Whereas the antitypical post-Pentecostal harvest takes place among the nations, and through miracle working power manifested by the Spirit-filled 144,000, it yields the great multitude which no man could number. Revelation 7 verse 9, the second fruits of those who are never to die. So this reading, we can easily discern the occurrence in the days of the apostles typify the 144,000 and also the great multitude. But I would like to focus to the experience of the apostles then. During the 40 days and even to the day of Pentecost, they were in one accord, but only in place, not with the understanding. Because historically, before and even after they received the Pentecost, there are some instances that they need to settle together because of some different understanding. But that type is reversed to the 144,000 living saints. Because in the pre-Pentecostal harvest, the 144,000 living saints, all of them are in one accord, in doctrine, not in place. So let us distinctly separate one accord in understanding of the prophecy and one accord which pertaining to the place. Now, we already read, brothers and sisters, that the purpose that God get out His people from Egypt is to bring them into the kingdom church, the church which is in the wilderness. Not to bring them physically, but spiritually. Meaning, God's people will be gathered into one truth, one doctrine. So that's what it means by one accord. Now, here in 2SR 256, it says, the pouring out of the Spirit is the power that is to descend upon God's servants to carry on the work represented by the former and the latter rain. And upon all flesh is the Spirit that is to convince the honest in heart. So to convince the honest in heart of the truth and bring them into the church, of which Pentecost was a type. 2SR page 256. So, to convince the honest in heart of the truth and bring them into the church. What church? The Kingdom Church. Now, let us read 2TG 46 on page 30. It says, it conclusively follows that the stone kingdom in its beginning is set up in the Holy Land, while the two kings are yet in existence. 2TG 46 on page 30. So the Shepherd's Rod says that that stone kingdom in its beginning is set up in the Holy Land. Now, in this study, brothers and sisters, by studying the chronological order of events, the Holy Land mentioned there must be pointing to the church by which God's presence is in their midst. That's what makes the land holy. God's presence. Remember, the two kings is also represented by the 10 horns of the leopard-like beast having crowns. The 10 crown horns represent the two kings. Now, let us read 1SR. And let me see. 213, 1SR page 213. It says, beginning from 212. The 10 horns of both beasts, Daniel 7 verse 7, and Revelation 13 verse 1, as well as the 10 toes of Daniel 2:42, represent the same 10 kingdoms into which Rome was divided. These 10 kings personate the civilization in the 5th period, or the one which followed Rome to our own time, and on to the second coming of Christ, according to Daniel 2 verse 44. And in the days of these kings shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed. So in this reading is very plain that the two kings, or the 10 toes, also represented by the 10 horns of the leopard-like beast, having crowns. And in the days of these kings, the God of heaven shall set up a kingdom. Now, in tract number 12, on page 32, it says, now from the manifest similarity between the leopard-like beast and the scarlet-colored beast, one should recognize that the latter is the image of the former, his deadly one having been healed, and his horns uncrowned. It says, and his horns uncrowned. The crownless horns of the latter show that he represents the world in a time in which there are no crowned kings, but that instead the world is ruled by an ecclesiastical head, the woman that drives the beast. Tract number 12, page 32. So that reading is very plain that when the woman will ride the scarlet-colored beast, at that time, there will be no more crowned kings. The horns had been uncrowned. And after the horns had been uncrowned, it will never be crowned again. So the statement, in the days of these kings, the God of heaven shall set up a kingdom. It must be in the time by which the 10 horns are not yet uncrowned. So that stone kingdom, represented by the kingdom church, must be established in the period before the woman rides the scarlet-colored beast. Because when the woman rides the scarlet-colored beast, according to the Shepherd's Rod, at that time, there will be no more crowned horns. The 10 horns had been uncrowned, according to the voice of inspiration. The 10 horns had been uncrowned. So it's easy to understand that the stone kingdom, the kingdom church, must be in existence before the 10 horns will be uncrowned. Or in other words, that stone kingdom must be established before the woman rides the scarlet-colored beast. Because at the time when the woman rides the scarlet-colored beast, there will be no more crown horns. Now, I would like to read answerer number 1, page 24. It says, we hold it to be a simple, self-evident truth that as the stone, Daniel 2:34, is symbolical of the kingdom, and that as it smites the tools of the image, it necessarily must be set up before it smites them, just as Daniel said, in the days of these kings, two kings, the kings of today, shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom. In the days of these kings cannot mean after their days, and unless the kingdom is set up, brought into being, it cannot smite the nations. Who will smite the nations? The stone kingdom. So, in actuality, what does it mean that they smite the nations? So, we need to study closely. And who will uncrown the 10 horns or the 10 horns of the leopard-like beast? Who will uncrown? And what is the causes? Why is it that the 10 horns on the leopard-like beast had been uncrowned? So, we need to study closely the actual significance. Now, let us go back again to the reading in Answerer number 2, page 17. To get out of Egypt and bring them into the kingdom church. God's people must be taken out from Egypt and bring them into the kingdom church. Logically, when they were already in the kingdom church, indicates that they were no longer in Egypt. As He calls His ancient people to get out of Egypt and to go into the kingdom church. And that kingdom church is in the wilderness. Now, the kingdom church will be established in the days of these kings. Now, I would like to read 2SR 119. Revelation 17, verse 13. Revelation 17, verse 13. 2SR 119. These have one mind, and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. Why is it that they will have one mind, and shall give their power and strength unto the beast? Now, I would like to read first, before reading this one, 2SR 119, the statement given by this prophecy concerning Revelation 17, verse 13. Here in 3SM 392, 3SM page 392, it says, one universal confederacy. So what kind of confederacy? Universal. And universal is not complete, represented by number 10, because the definition given in the Shepherd's Rod and 1SR on page 213, 1SR 213, it says, had the number of horns been 7, it would have the biblical meaning all. But since the number 10 is used, all other are excluded. So the number 10 denotes universal. Number 7 indicates completeness. So universal, all other are excluded. So not all are included because it does not represent completeness. So let's read the statement again here in 3SM page 392. 3SM page 392. It says here, one universal confederacy. These have one mind, and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. They shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them. For He is Lord of lords and King of kings. And they that are with Him are called, chosen, and faithful. Revelation 17, verse 13 and 14. These have one mind. There will be a universal bond of union, one great harmony, a confederacy of Satan forces, and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. Thus is manifested the same arbitrary, oppressive power against religious liberty, freedom to worship God according to the dictates of conscience, as was manifested by the papacy, when in the past it persecuted those who dared to refuse to conform with the religious rites and ceremonies of Romanists. So, here the voice of inspiration is plainly telling brothers and sisters that there must be a universal confederacy. And this universal confederacy, according to 2TG, is directed to boycott God's people. Let's read 2TG number 17. 2TG number 17, page 10 and 11. 2TG number 17, pages 10 and 11. Here you see that this unification of the world, so the term used here is unification, engendered to bring peace and harmony out of the present chaos, will instead bring an even greater time of trouble. And why? Because do the beast may bring communism and capitalism to mutual agreement. So there is a mutual agreement between communism and capitalism. So we need to study closely what is that mutual agreement between communism and capitalism. And the one who will bring them into one mutual agreement is the beast. And it says, because do the beast may bring communism and capitalism to mutual agreement and cause them to bow down to the image of the beast, yet those whose names are written in the books, in the Lamb's Book of Life, will never comply. Who are they that they will never comply with such mutual agreement to bow down to the image of the beast? There are those whose names are written in the Lamb's Book of Life. And we know that it must be the 144,000. From this you see that the whole plan is directed by a supernatural power whose aim is to boycott the people of God. They shall nevertheless be delivered. 2TG number 17, page 10 and page 11. Now, let's go back. Who are they that will not comply with such mutual agreement to bow down to the image of the beast? They are those whose names left written in the Lamb's Book of Life. They are the only one. Because the Bible is very plain on Revelation 13, on verse 8, and all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. Revelation 13 verse 8. So the Bible cannot be mistaken. Once our names had been blotted out, once our names had been removed in the Lamb's Book of Life, we have no protection at all. And inevitably or unavoidably, we will worship such system, or we will be among such demon worship, because the prophecy called it demon worship. And that is one of the reasons why the Lamb's Book of Life must be cleansed first before that predicted event. So let's go back to 2SR page 119. 2SR page 119. It says, "These have one mind, and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. The kings that descended from the Roman monarchy had been in continual strife, and will be to the end, say the prophet. And whereas thou sowest iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay." Daniel 2 verse 43. "But with the innumerable company on the other side of the millennium, it will not be so. These have one mind, and shall give their power and strength unto the beast." Revelation 17:13. But that is the antitype. First, Revelation 17:13, it is applied to the 10 horns on the leopard-like beast. Who are they, the 10 horns of the leopard-like beast? Of course, horns represent civil authorities. Now let's read 2SR. It says here, 2SR page 88. "The crowns represent civil authority, as previously explained." What is represented by the crowns? Civil authority. So, what does horns represent? If the crowns represent civil authority, then how about the horns? What is the representation of the horns? Now, reading still on page 88 in 2SR. It says, "If the horns represent the political side, then the heads cannot." So what is the representation of the horns? It says political side. But what does it mean by the statement, "The crowns represent civil authority"? It says, "The crowns represent civil authority as previously explained." Had they been on the heads like on the dragon of Revelation 12:3, it would denote that the churches are using the civil arm of the state to propagate their dogma, as in the days of imperial and papal Rome, represented by the dragon. So where does the crowns had been placed in the symbolization of the red dragon? It was placed on the 7 heads. So what is the representation when it is placed on the 7 heads? What is the representation of crowns? Civil authority. So it must be ecclesiastical body clothed with civil authority, because crowns represent civil authority. And where does the crowns place on the symbolization of the red dragon? 7 heads. So it represents that the Jewish church had been clothed with civil authority, because the 7 heads on the red dragon represent the Jewish church during pagan Rome. But on the Dark Ages, it represents the Christian church, clothed with civil authority. What is civil authority? Crowns. The crowns represent civil authority. So when the crowns is placed on the heads, the church is clothed with civil authority. Now I would like to read the story of redemption. Story of redemption on page 381. "The beast and its image." By this first beast is represented the Roman church, an ecclesiastical body clothed with civil power. It is not the Roman church in the first stage of the nondescript beast, because it is opposite. Pagan Rome, which is represented by civil authority, is clothed with ecclesiastical power. So, what is the ecclesiastical power of the Roman authorities on pagan Rome? That is the Jewish church, right? So, these two, the civil authorities of pagan Rome and the ecclesiastical authorities of the Jewish church, combined together to persecute Jesus Christ, to crucify Jesus Christ, and to persecute the Apostolic Church and the Christians. But in the Dark Ages, it is the Roman Catholic Church, according to this reading in the History of Redemption, page 381, which is clothed with civil power. So let's read again, 381, History of Redemption. By this first beast is represented the Roman Church, an ecclesiastical body clothed with civil power, having authority to punish all dissenters. The image to the beast represents another religious body clothed with similar powers. The formation of this image is the work of that beast, whose peaceful rise and mild professions render it so striking a symbol of the United States. Here is to be found an image of the papacy, when the churches of our land, uniting upon such points of faith as are held by them in common, shall influence the state to enforce their decrees and sustain their institutions, then will Protestant America have formed an image of the Roman hierarchy. Then the true church will be assailed by persecution, as were God's ancient people. Now here's another statement that I would like to read. I think answerer number 2, page 70. Answerer number 2, page 70. It says, and finally, Sister White, in authenticating this position, declared. Answerer number 2, page 70. And finally, Sister White, in authenticating this position, declared, I saw all that would not receive the mark of the beast and of his image in their foreheads or in their hands could not buy or sell. I saw that the number 666 of the image beast was made up. It did not say, I saw that the number 666 of the image beast is made up. But the vision says, was made up. What is the divine principle in the written word of God? If it is inscribed in past tense, it will be understood after the event. Otherwise, such revelation would be grammatically incorrect. It says, I saw that the number 666 of the image beast was made up. Now, let's continue reading. And that it was that the beast that changed the Sabbath. And remember, the Sabbath will remain Sabbath. But the statement says, and that it was the beast that changed the Sabbath, and the image beast had followed on after and kept the popes and not God's Sabbath. The number 666 was placed in parentheses by the editor of A Word to the Letter Flat. Now, I would like to connect track number 5, page 21. Track number 5, page 21. I saw, says Sister White, all that would not receive the mark of the beast and of his image in their foreheads or in their hands could not buy or sell. Revelation 13 verse 15 to 17. Now, we as Sephirah believer completely understood that receiving the mark of the beast and of his image in their foreheads precedes the receiving of the mark of the beast and of his image in their hands. The statement, receive the mark of the beast and of his image in their foreheads, meaning they voluntarily chosen to submit themselves. And we know that the beast represents system, as well as the image of the beast also represents system. Now, let us read again the statement. It says, I know that it is still a long study. It says, I saw, says Sister White, all that would not receive the mark of the beast and of his image in their foreheads or in their hands could not buy or sell. Revelation 13 verse 15 to 17. I saw that the number 666 of the image beast, the two-horned beast of verse 11 or Revelation 13 verse 11 was made up. And then it says, and that it was the beast, the 10-horned beast of verse 1. Who are the 10-horned beasts? That is the 10 crown horns on the leopard-like beast. It says, I would like to read again, and that it was the beast, the 10-horned beast of verse 1, that changed the Sabbath. So what beast is that? The leopard-like beast and the image beast, the two-horned beast, had followed on after and kept the popes and not God's Sabbath. Now this is the question. Where is that nation by which the Sunday law will originate? I think all of us will agree, as stated in the writings of Sister White. Volume 6, page 18. Volume 6, 395. 2SM 375. That is in the United States of America. And it says, and then every country on the globe will follow to lead her example. Then that reading in tract number 5, page 21, the leopard-like beast must be pointing to the United States of America because it says, it is the leopard-like beast that changed the Sabbath. It could not be during the Dark Ages because it is not the leopard-like beast that changed the Sabbath during the Dark Ages. It is the hornhead power on the nondescript beast is the one that changed the Sabbath during the Dark Ages. But this prophecy is still future. So what I'm trying to explain that the leopard-like beast is directly addressed to the United States of America because it is the United States of America that will change the Sabbath. The same with the vision of Sister White in the Great Controversy on 573. In the movements now in progress in the United States, to secure for the institutions and usages of the church the support of the state, Protestants are following in the steps of papists. Nay more, they are opening the door for the papacy to regain in Protestant America the supremacy which she has lost in the old world. You see, brothers and sisters, it says, and that which gives greater significance to this movement is the fact that the principal object contemplated is the enforcement of Sunday observance, a custom which originated with Rome and which she claims as the sign of her authority. It is the spirit of the papacy, the spirit of conformity to worldly customs, the veneration for human traditions above the commandments of God that is permitting the Protestant churches and leading them on to do the same work of Sunday exaltation which the papacy has done before them. The Great Controversy, page 573. And look at what happened to the last presidential election in the United States of America. The one who backed up Donald Trump is a Catholic priest or a Catholic bishop. The same with Joe Biden. Also, the one who backed up the candidacy of Joe Biden is also a Catholic priest, a Catholic bishop. Can you imagine, brothers and sisters, what is happening in the United States of America? Now, we will show to you how that prediction is being now fulfilled in the United States of America. And soon, very soon, prophecy will be fulfilled in quick succession. Testimonies to Ministers 116. And the final movements will be rapid ones. Volume 9 on page 11. And I still remember the statement in 2SR 159 saying, those who are without God's protection will find no safety in any place or position. You see, brothers and sisters, at that time, those who are without God's protection will find no safety in any place or position. 2SR page 159. Now, I would like to read to you this reading in 2SR on page 155. 2SR page 155. And hoping that God would guide us. It says, 2SR 155. The destruction is alike of both beast and woman. Then it says, furthermore, it is the period under the symbol of the woman riding on the beast that makes an image of the leopard-like in his first stage before wounded, or of the nondescript beast in his second stage. Now let us analyze closely. It says, furthermore, it is the period under the symbol of the woman riding on the beast. What beast that the woman riding? Is it the scarlet-colored beast? No, it would be contradictory because it says, at the time when the woman is riding on the beast, that is the time that makes an image of the leopard-like. That makes an image of the leopard-like in his first stage before wounded. So what is the leopard-like in his first stage before wounded? Now to repeat again, this statement cannot be construed. That the statement, the symbol of the woman riding on the beast is pointing to the time when the woman is riding on the scarlet-colored beast, because at that time, the image of the leopard-like beast was already made up. But the statement declared clearly that in the period under the symbol of the woman riding on the beast, that makes an image of the leopard-like. So the leopard-like beast, or the image of the leopard-like, is made in the time when the woman is riding on the beast. Now, if you will say that that is the time when the woman rides the scarlet-colored beast, it is contradictory. Because at the time when the woman rides the scarlet-colored beast, the image of the leopard-like was already made. But this statement is very plain. The image of the leopard-like, it will be made in the period under the symbol of the woman riding on the beast. That makes an image of the leopard-like. So God is telling you and I that when this prophecy will be fulfilled, that the woman rides on the beast, that is the time that the image of the leopard-like is being made. What is the image of the leopard-like? We will discuss that on the subject, the beast and its image. But at this time, we would like to prove to you that this statement in 2SR 155 is the prediction that at the time, the beast represent the President of the United States of America. Because it points out, brethren, to the time by which both of them are thrown into the lake of fire. Now, I would like to read again, brothers and sisters, the statement. Although it's really a broad subject because it does not refer only to one description. The beast represents system. The beast represents the head of that nation. So, it does not refer alone to one description. But we need to analyze the statement here. In 2SR page 155, it says, so the focal point here is the woman. It says, furthermore, it is the period under the symbol of the woman riding on the beast that makes an image of the leopard-like in his first stage before wounded. Now, let us read first. 2SR page 113. It says, 2SR page 113. The scarlet-colored beast is also controlled by the woman riding on his back, church and state. Thus, it denotes that she is the authority or the crown, for she rules the beast. This is one of the reasons why the crowns are absent on this beast. The last is an image of the first, verifying the fact that the scarlet-colored beast represents the image of the beast. What is the image of the beast? The scarlet-colored beast. When does the image of the beast is made? It is in the period when the woman is riding on. Now, I would like to show a very simple illustration, although I am not good in drawing. Now, for example, this is the beast, and the woman is riding on this beast. The woman riding on the beast. When does the image of the leopard-like beast is made? During the time when the woman is riding on the beast. What is the image of the beast? Scarlet-colored. Now, for example, this is the scarlet-colored. Scarlet-colored. When does the image of the beast is made? During the time when the woman is riding on the beast. Now, how could it be that this beast is the scarlet-colored, while in this period of time, the image of the beast, which is the scarlet-colored beast, is yet being made up? Therefore, the beast mentioned here, and the woman mentioned here, cannot be the scarlet-colored beast, and the woman that rides the scarlet-colored beast. Here's another statement, that the image of the beast is the scarlet-colored beast. Old symbolic code. One symbolic code, number 4, page 7. One symbolic code, number 4, page 7. It says, and the image of the beast above mentioned is the third, of which the scarlet-colored beast of Revelation 17 is symbolical. Now, I would like to read again. And the image of the beast above mentioned is the third, of which the scarlet-colored beast of Revelation 17 is symbolical. One symbolic code, number 4, page 7. So what is the scarlet-colored beast? The image of the beast. So I would like to repeat again. When does the image of the beast is to be made? The voice of inspiration says, it is under the period. It is in the period under the symbol of the woman riding on the beast. You know, when God gave sign, it only happens once in a lifetime. Because if it is happening every now and then it could no longer be the absolute sign. Although we'll continue to our next episode, but I would like to explain first, brothers and sisters, that statement in 2SR 155 is pointing to the last presidential election in the United States of America. Although I am not familiar with the other countries, how their presidential election been carried out. But in the United States of America, unlike, for example, here in our country, when we vote vice president and president, it is separated. But in the United States of America, they will vote only president.
So, only in the United States of America that the Vice President rides the President. But it never happened in the United States of America that the one who rides the President is a woman. Only in the last presidential election in the United States of America that the Vice President that who rides the presidency is a woman. First time in the history. Never happens ever since. Now, I would like to show to you on our next episode that the predicted two horns, on the first place, these two horns, it is pertaining to Republican and Democrats according to the shepherd's rod. Right? That is very plain. Republican and Democrats, the two horns. But brothers and sisters, if we will connect our study on Daniel 11 verse 45, even before Joe Biden became President of the United States of America, we have already, or a message was already bestowed by God unto us, that the last presidential election of the United States of America must be the 46th president. And we have that reading material. I think that was in 2012. Now, the number 666 was made up. The voice of inspiration made it so plain in the vision of Sister White that the Sabbath will not be changed not until the number 666 was made up. And we fully believe that that predicted event, brothers and sisters, must be pertaining to the Republican and Democrats. Now, Donald Trump is the 45th president, and he was the president under Republican Party. Although, in 2012, we already believe that there must be 46th president, the last president in the United States of America. But the only thing that we did not know is that if Donald Trump will be immediately defeated. Because if Donald Trump win the presidency in 2020, then still we need to wait the 46th president. Of course, that is 2020. Then the next presidential election must be 2024. Therefore, it must be in 2024, the 46th president. If Donald Trump had been re-elected, still that is the 45th president. But we already knew, according to the Bible and its prophecy, that the last president of the United States of America must be the 46th president. And since Donald Trump had been defeated, now let us show to you, Republican, Donald Trump, his name is 6. Democrats, Joseph, his number is 6. Now, how about the Vice President? It is 666, right? Kamala Harris Imhoop. Would you think that is just an accident? And together with the US dollar, brothers and sisters, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then Sunday, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These are the all number 6 recorded in the writings of Sister White, Alonzo Jones, and B.T. Houghton. All of them was completely made up. The word made up meaning completed. The mystical number 666. Therefore, brothers and sisters, the time is no longer far distant that such persecution against God's people will be implemented. And we'll continue this episode or this subject on our next episode. And we will show to you that all the prophecies recorded in the Bible will be finally materialized the year 2021 and year 2022. And the final movements will be rapid ones. And that is why we are not worrying those people who are speaking evil, speaking negative things against this message, because at the time when this message will begin to fulfill, they will realize. And the same as in the days of Noah, everything ceased to be funny. When the rain began to pour out, the situation ceased to be funny. 1 TG number 50, page 15. They laughed, they ridiculed, but when the rain began to pour out, the situation ceased to be funny. So when the prophecy will begin to fulfill itself, at that time, the situation will cease to be funny. And only those who responded to the 11th hour call will be spared. I would like to read that reading in White House Recruiter. And of course, the message of the 11th hour call is proclaimed by antitypical Elijah the Tisba. Here in White House Recruiter, on page 37, only those who give ear to the 11th hour call are to be spared in the separation and to make up the last group of servants with the last message So I would like to read again. White House Recruiter, page 37. Only those who give ear to the 11th hour call are to be spared in the separation and to make up the last group of servants with the last message. So the same with Moses. He told Israel, it is time to go home. It is time to abandon Egypt. It is time to depart from Egypt. And we will depart Egypt spiritually. In what way? By obeying the divine command. Observe the holy feast, which is the antitypical Passover. And only they who observe the solemn feast will be spared, according to the shepherd's rod. And we will continue that subject on our next episode. And thank you very much for listening and viewing this program. May the good Lord bless you and have a beautiful, wonderful evening.